On the grid, exciting action getting pumped up and ready for our first Superbike race of the weekend here at Virginia International Raceway. Riders are getting prepped and ready to go. Hopefully we'll catch up with a few of them, but we'll definitely catch up with our pole sitter number 1, the defending champ, Cameron Beaubier, shortly, as racing will be underway soon here from VIR. Much better weather conditions today than we saw yesterday, with a sudden storm and a lot of rain and a lot of wind. We've got bright, sunny, shiny skies now. Looking forward to a nice, clean, dry race. We'll be back with more coverage of Superbike Superstock 1000 here from Virginia International Raceway and MotoAmerica on beIN Sports.
Round 4 of the MotoAmerica Superbike Championship is all set and ready to roll at Virginia International Raceway. Hello everyone, I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time AMA champ Jason Pridmore, and we are at the Yamaha Superbike Challenge of Virginia. And Jason, behind us is the podium. Everyone wants to stand on there, but there's only 3 spots available.
Only 3 spots, and we have a 4-time Superbike champion coming from the 4th row today, so it's going to be good.
For more from pit lane, here's the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Christy Lee.
Thank you, Greg. Our pole sitter for today, defending champion number 1, Cameron Beaubier, back on pole position and working hard to decrease that championship points gap. It's a great day for racing. How are you feeling going into race number 1?
I feel good. We had a good couple days, the last 2 days, Friday and Saturday. My R1's working really good around this place. I'm having a lot of fun riding here at VIR, and yeah, I'm gonna do everything I can to try to win this thing. So I know Josh is gonna be coming hard from the 10th spot on the grid. I know he had a little little issue in qualifying yesterday, so I know he'll be right there. And Roger's been riding really good too, so it's gonna be a tough race, but we'll see what happens.
Best of luck, Cameron. Greg?
All right, thanks, Christy. If you didn't see what happened in Superpole qualifying yesterday, Jason, it was Josh Hayes who was on a fast one, on a queue, and there was some traffic in his way, and he qualified in 10th. But we'll get to that in a minute as Jason take us through the Yamaha VIR track
Great
map.
13-turn road course here at VIR. Down into turn 1 is where we're going to see most of our braking. You see that kink turn 14. That's going to be flat out as you head up into turn 1. 3, 4, 5, 6, it's all pretty one line through there. That's where riders are going to try to get themselves sorted out at the beginning of this lap. Once this race gets started, another key passing zone under the bridge, turn 7. That's where we start to see some elevation here at VIR. The bike's going to go up a big steep hill, across the ridge through 8, 9, 10. 10's a hard braking zone. Down that big hill, turn 11, 12, all the way down through the 13th corner there. It's all downhill, fast flowing. You want to get the best drive you can out of 13 as you head onto that big front straightaway there. And like I said earlier, turn 14 is a kink. It's wide open in 6th gear here.
A lot of fun. Virginia International Raceway, one of our natural road courses, 4 of them on the stop in the championship this year. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back to a chilly day here in Virginia, we're going to get racing going, so hang tight. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway before Superbike race number 1. Last bit of activity going on down on pit lane where Christy Lee is there.
Here with number 95, Roger Lee Hayden. Roger, much better racing conditions today than we saw at the last round. New Jersey Motorsports Park looked strong during warm-up earlier. How are you feeling, as I know you and your team are working very hard to get that win this season?
Yeah, you know, the whole Yoshimura Suzuki teams did a great job all weekend. The bike's working good. I feel like my race pace is good, so but always it's going to be a fight with these guys. It's never easy, but I think we can challenge them for the win, and hopefully today's the day, and hopefully put on a good show for all the fans that are here.
Thanks, Raj. Good luck.
All right, Roger Hayden. Well, he's definitely had a pretty good weekend, Raj, as he qualified in 2nd spot at 24.545 versus Cameron Beaubier's 124.358. So the times have been pretty close for the Yoshimura Suzuki rider, as, you know, the two riders there on those Suzukis have been very competitive with the Yamahas this weekend.
Absolutely, and Roger's done a lot of long runs, so I've been able to go out there and watch some of the sessions and seeing the difference between him and Tony. Even listening to their bikes go around, I can tell that the electronics packages on each bike are a little bit different. Talking to a couple people down at Yosh, talking to Darren, he explained to me how Raj uses a little bit more of the electronics under initial throttle, and you can hear that. So for all the fans here at VIR that get to run back and watch the coverage of BN Sports when they go home, they can have a look at this. We'll rip back down to Christy.
Although on the second row and in the fourth spot, Josh Herron, the leading super stock bike. Josh, ready to go and race?
Ready to twist the gas.
Good luck.
All right, there's Josh Herron. And he's done really well over here, qualifying in fourth, a 124.738. Josh Herron on that Super Stock 1000, easily distinguishable if you're looking at that grid. Look at that yellow motorcycle with the red backing number plate and that white number 2 versus the white and black. That is the way that you can tell what the Super Stock 1000 motorcycles are.
And I had a great conversation with him a couple of days ago, and we both discussed the differences between Super Stock and Superbike, and at some of these tracks how the Super Stock bike can be so competitive. And he marked this one on his calendar as one of those that this is a place where they can be really competitive. Where the Superbikes have the biggest advantage, we look at our starting grid here with Cameron Bobier on pole, Roger Hayden second, Tony Elias back to form here, finishing running the day out in third. Second row, Josh Herron, Jake Gagne, Claudio Corti, who was very fast in warm-up this morning. Third row, Danny Essick, Bobby Fong, Taylor Knapp with another strong qualifying session, and probably the big shock to all of us, Greg.
There it is, row number 4 in 10th spot, Josh Hayes. No, not because Josh Hayes is a slow rider, not because he had problems with his machine or anything. It was simply lap traffic at the end of Super Pole 2 qualifying, where riders had gone out a couple minutes before Josh, and then they started to sit up and slow down, and there was too much traffic. Hayes had to run off the track, and that was the result of that.
And it's not so much about the traffic, it's not so much about that, it's kind of about cruising around at 15-20 mile an hour. And as a rider, when you're on a qualifying lap, as he is, you're trying to put down the absolute fastest lap of your weekend. You're trying to take advantage of a tire that you have. So, Greg, believe it or not, you're going faster down some of the straightaways and this and that. Your line actually becomes smaller because now you've got guys in your way, and you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know if they're going to be pulling out in front of you. You don't know, but sometimes they'll look back at you, and you don't know what they're going to do. Josh had a little problem with that.
59 degrees, a lot chillier than we thought it was going to be. Looking at the forecast, we thought at this point of the day that we would see possibly 68 degrees. Now, this is a bit of a shock for a lot of these teams and riders. At least they had a chance to go out this morning in the cooler temperatures, but when you have practice on Friday and Saturday, temperatures are around 80 degrees. The motorcycle and the tires work a lot different in these cooler temperatures.
Totally, and right now, one of the things that's so important is this warm-up lap this morning because it is chillier out there. I mean, we've really gone from one extreme to the other, even to the point where yesterday we had like a mini tornado blow through this place and do some really devastating stuff to our paddock. The thing is that this morning we did notice a lot of slide-offs in morning practice, probably because guys just aren't getting their tires quite up to temperature. So, that's going to be something that these guys are going to be very cognizant of on that warm-up lap there and get their tires up.
We'll have more on that micro burst that came through here later on in the day in our second broadcast on BN Sports. But right now, it's all about this moment. Race number 1 from VIR, the MotoAmerica Superbike Championship. Bikes are all set on grid. This is the most tense time of the day for these riders so far, as now first gear is engaged, and it's all about that launch control or good clutch control as the light goes out, and we're off to the right-hander, turn number 1.
And I'm looking at that fourth row, even though we look at Cameron, got a great start. Look at Josh Hayes back there from the fourth row. He's going to try to swing around the outside of all those guys as Cameron leads them off into turn 1.
So Cameron Bobier on the number 1 bike. He expects his teammate Josh Hayes coming from 10th spot on the grid to get up there quickly, but there's a whole gaggle of riders in between the number 1 plate and the number 4 plate as we see a couple of Yoshimura Suzukis in the mix with Josh Herron right there in 4th.
Josh Herron in 4th with Claudio Corti trying to sneak under him. Jake Gagne, and it looks like Josh Hayes got up to 7th place right now, right off the bat. Now, these opening laps are the key. This is where you need to try to get by people as quickly as you can, when people might still be caught off a little bit. But look at Josh Herron going for Tony Elias right now for that battle for 3rd.
You'll look at the riders streaming through out of the S section now. This is underneath the bridge, and they're going to take a right-hander up the hill right now. As look at this field so far, Jason. I thought, you know, there might be some incidences here on this first half of lap, being the tires are so cold, but it looks like everyone's being pro right now.
Did a great job, and we're watching these guys as they get ready to come into our camera shot here, turn 10. Now, what you can't see on TV, that's very, very steep. A lot of these Superbikes going to be doing a quick short shift as they come in between this right and the left, coming down this hill to the final right-hander. And this is going to be where we're going to get to see some of the horsepower. Let's see if Raj can suck up the back of Cameron Beaubier here as they come down this front straightaway all the way up through the gears into this fast turn 14 kink here. It used to be even more blind, but they've moved the checker flag tower down a little bit further. So it's kind of where we thought everybody would be right now. Corti was backing it in pretty hard there. I'm not sure if Josh got underneath him back there for 6.
Oh, there goes Josh Herrin up the inside of Tony Elias. So now Josh Herrin into 3rd spot. So #1, Monster Energy Graves Yamaha, leading from Roger Hayden on that Yoshimura Suzuki, and now a super stock machine goes into 3rd spot. As our first 3-round race winner, Tony Elias, slips back to 4th.
Yeah, we have another Superstock bike in Claudio Corti in 5th there, so, or 6th it looks like, Greg. So the Superstock bikes, again, like we were talking about earlier, this is a track where they can compete because there's not really any real first gear turns where the acceleration of a Superbike is going to take the advantage over a Superstock bike. You can look at a corner like this and you can see Josh Herrin draw up on the back of Roger Lee. Now,
oh, and there goes the 32 right by Tony Elias.
Yes.
So now it looks like Jake Gagne and that Broaster Chicken Yamaha has taken over that position as Elias is starting to march backwards.
Yeah, these first 3 guys, that definitely created a gap, and you can see how that works. And Jake Gagne is going to do everything he can to run that group back down. There's Josh Hayes sitting behind Tony Elias, so they've gotten by Claudio Corti, as has Danny Essick with Bobby Fong right behind Corti there as this field streams down through that last right-hander. Now, will Josh be able to get in Tony Elias's drive and go by that Yoshimura Suzuki? Let's see.
Look at the replay. Look at the 24. He's off to the right part of your screen right there as Elias a little wiggle and wide, and Herrin able to sneak right underneath.
Yeah, that was made pretty easy for Josh. And Josh, you know, everybody knows at these events, especially in qualifying, that Herrin loves to chase. He loves to be kind of the follow guy, and he can run these lap times. He's going to just be focusing on these 2 guys ahead.
Josh Hayes has gotten around Tony Elias now, so it's Hayes on the move as he gets by Elias for 5th spot. That's the #4 bike. He'll be leading that train. The 24 right there, that's Suzuki. That's Tony Elias, who we're talking about. Just ahead of him, Josh Hayes on the 4 as the #1 Monster Energy Graves Yamaha, that blue and white motorcycle leading from the blue and white Suzuki of Roger Hayden. Winless so far this season and searching for one, as is Josh Herrin. But we're talking about a motorcycle that's not quite as sophisticated as the 2 Superbikes in front of him. Is that Wheels in Motion, Mean Motorsports, Yamaha, the yellow and black machine, as Herrin now has a move up the inside. So look at Josh Herrin on the move. He wants to be the first Superstock 1000 to win a race of this caliber, as Josh Herrin has just made a very aggressive pass on Roger Hayden.
And you can see how much his bike's moving around. He is riding that thing hard. Right now, he has got the fastest lap of the race. And when Cameron, if he does, which I know he won't, but if he did take a little peek behind him right now, I think he'd be pretty shocked to see that #2 Mean Motorsports Josh Herrin running right up behind him.
#1 Cameron Beaubier, #2 Josh Herrin, #95 Roger Hayden. Josh Herrin now in 2nd spot. This is the 2nd year of the MotoAmerica Superbike / Superstock 1000 Championship, and we have yet to see a Superstock 1000 win. Jason, you talked about it. The characteristics of VIR really plays into the hands of Josh Herrin, but we know also that when Cameron Beaubier is pushed, when he's leading like this, we'll see if he's got anything in the tank in reserve, and he's able to dig a little deeper and push a little harder.
This second part of the track looks like where Josh Herrin really seems to shine. You're going to see him come up underneath this bridge here where these guys start heavily braking. He gains a lot of time going up this hill through turn 7, this big steep uphill, and of course I've given him the curse, and he runs wide. But now all through this section here, it's just straight line from point A to point B all the way through here, and Josh has a really good handle on the bike through here. And he said to me the other day, he says, Jay, he says, you know, it's funny, he says, my bike isn't that much slower than the Superbikes. He says, my bike is actually very, very fast. He can draw up on the back of Cameron all through this second sector of the lap. Now, Raj might be sitting there thinking, all right, Josh Herrin's looking a little chippy. Maybe I'll let him go up there and play with Cameron a little bit, and I'll watch what happens. Because I know that Raj wants to win one of these things worse than anybody, and he's still going to be right there with these 2.
Coming up on 21 laps to go, Cameron Beaubier, your leader, your national champion, your pole sitter, continues to lead the way as they go deep on the brakes, down slight hill into turn number 1. Beaubier looking total control. Then you have Josh Herrin, Roger Hayden, Jake Gagne in the 32. Josh Hayes still in 5th spot right now behind Gagne. Gagne with a great ride. Tony Elias, Danny Eslick, Claudio Corti, Bobby Fong, and Taylor Knapp rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, but boy, what a battle we have at the front here. And, you know, Josh Hayes has not lost touch with these guys. Now I'm looking at the lap times right now, and he's just kind of running the same pace. He's about, probably about 1.5 seconds, it looks like, behind them. And but he hasn't lost that pace yet.
So Josh Herrin, all eyes on him. You can tell, Jason, that Josh is putting a lot more body English into that motorcycle to get this thing to go just as fast around the racetrack as they're doing 25.3. So last go around, which doesn't matter at this point, but across the stripe, Herrin was actually a tick faster than Cameron Beaubier. So similar lap times right now as we're looking at a super stock machine. But Jason, I have to think, look, it's early days. The temperature is cold. The track temperature's cold, which can cause cold tearing in the tires.
Yep.
We didn't hear a word from Dunlop just yet if they went with the medium compound because of the cold. In the warmer temperatures, you can actually use the soft compound, but the medium tire. So we'll have to see as Josh Herrin continues to work his Yamaha R1 like he is, if it's going to wear those tires out, where Cameron Beaubier looks to be a lot smoother. Chrissy, you have more on the Dunlop tires?
Yeah, just speaking with the reps from Dunlops, it looks like the Superbikes, especially the front row and including Jake Gagne, are all on a soft front, soft rear. Josh Herrin, although on the Superstock bike, went to the soft front, soft rear as well. Claudio Corti set the tone for the rest of the Superstock class with a medium front and sticking with that soft rear. Guys?
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Chrissy. That's great information. So obviously within that window, and we have a battle going on. Really, this is for 4th place. Hayes had taken over 4th place for a moment, but Jake Gagne is fighting right back.
Yeah, when you get down into turn 1 there, the slowest part of that corner is the beginning of it, and Josh is just running there just a little bit far as you look at Josh Herrin really trying to have a look now at Cameron Beaubier. Now listen, there he goes right underneath Cameron.
Oh, and look at Josh Herrin. He makes the big move into the lead, slides it sideways, almost high sides, and saves it. Wow, Beaubier must have been like, oh, dude, what is going on right now? Hold the phone, take the lead for a second as Herrin is pushing that motorcycle as hard as you like it.
And you can see a lot of movement out of Josh's rear tire right now. So he's getting a lot more movement than the other bikes, than Cameron and or Raj. But it's very early days here. And what it's done is it's brought this group together now. We have a group of 6 riders all battling at the front. We're going to see if Cameron's going to just take that Superbike and go right back by him. But I don't think he can. Herrin's bike is really, really fast.
Cameron Beaubier with a little miscue, a little wheelie, and a little head shake. So now Josh Herrin continues. By the way, it's in the books as the leaders now. It looks like Roger Hayden's having and they touch, and Josh Herrin is down. So whoa, and Roger Hayden has to run wide another motorcycle
down. Like Gagne and Eslick also is what it looked like.
So the 95 stayed up. My bad. It looks like Elias. It was Elias perhaps has gone down or was off the track. Danny Eslick off the track. Josh Herrin. So absolutely, Elias is right there.
No, it was Gagne and Eslick that looked like that also fell, and that's just Raj getting in a little bit too deep. Tried to get underneath Cameron, then he got in that spot where he sees Herrin slowing down in front of him, as rightfully so, to make that turn, and you can see the frustration in Josh Herrin. I feel awful for him. There was nothing he did wrong there. He was riding superb, and you can see Cameron running wide again in that turn 7 area and getting loose.
Beaubier getting loose, and that's what happens when you crest that hill and you're off camber.
You hit it right on the head, Greg. Towards the outside of that turn there, it's very off camera, but Cameron's bike moving around a lot, but Raj just ended up, and here Raj's going to try to attack Cameron right away.
There he goes. So Roger Hayden now with confidence, he moves Cameron Beaubier over to the side, and he'll take over to lead. And look at Tony Elias in 3rd spot with Josh Hayes right on his tailpipe. So what an incredible turn of events we have had here in race 1 at VIR, with only a few laps in the books scheduled for 25. We're working lap 19. We're getting ready to have 18 to go. Not working lap 19, but working lap.
I know what you meant, yeah.
And what has happened here is incredible, as the Superstock machines were really taking control of this race.
I'll tell you something I'm noticing on that front straightaway. Maybe next time they come by, we'll be able to allude on it a little bit more. But Cameron Beaubier doesn't look like he's holding it wide open through this kink to me here on the front straight. And it's allowing these guys to be able to draft it by him or close to him. And you'll get a chance to see that, Greg, next time when they come down that straightaway.
All right, so resetting the order, Roger Hayden leads from Cameron Beaubier. Tony Elias now with a little bit of a gap as Josh Hayes is in 4th spot. We saw a heap of riders lose it in turn 1. And some of those riders trying to remount and get back in the race was Jake Gagne. Danny Eslick ran off, and number 2, Josh Herron. So now it looked like Hayes was going to have a look at Elias.
Somebody's gone. Like Cameron's gone. Cameron ran straight at the end of the back straightaway. It looked like he's been struggling in this race, and I'm not sure why, but it looks like our championship, let's see, yeah, last year's champions ran straight off in turn 7. I believe I saw him in the shot in the back, getting back on. Josh Hayes attacking Tony Elias right now in turn 10.
Also, Josh Hayes underneath the turn 10, one of the passing spots we talked about in yesterday's broadcast. He will make that stick. Right now, it looks like Hayes is Yamaha's only hope of possibly winning this race, as now Cameron Beaubier has run wide. So it's Josh Hayes leading the way.
There is so much stuff going on so early in this race, but look where we're at. 4-time champ back up into second place, coming right up. He's going to drop on Raj now, but Raj has now jumped out to almost a 1-second lead. Josh looks like he's in here a little bit deep. Oh. He's getting a turn though. So
and this is what you need though. This is what Roger Hayden needed right now. He wants Josh Hayes and Tony Elias to start battling it out. That's going to allow him a little bit more of a gap. Is what a turn of events. A chain reaction by Roger Hayden going deep into turn 1. Josh Herron not knowing he's there, coming back across to take his line. A little bit of contact, a crash, a chain reaction. And here we sit with 17 laps to go. Roger Hayden, winless so far in MotoAmerica competition. He hasn't won a race last year. He came so close. He's finished second, third. Then he had a disastrous 9th and 17th at New Jersey Motorsports Park last week when we came into that championship with him leading.
That's where Raj just has to put his head down and hit his marks and look up the track and just try to put down the laps that I watched him put down in practice. And this guy here has got to be telling himself, okay, look, I had a bad qualifying, started way back, I'm in second now, and now he can start to pace things. He's got some time now in this race with 17, coming up on 16 laps to go, where he can start kind of developing a bit of a plan. But he's drawn his Yamaha right back on the back of that Yoshimura Suzuki already, and I expect this to be a pretty fast lap from Josh. He's gone quickest split in the second. So as I have a quick little look at those lap times, Craig, Josh is definitely drawn up on the back, and he's already trying to attack Raj.
So he's attacking Roger Hayden. So here goes Josh Hayes into the lead. Wow, what can Roger Hayden do? Is now Hayes has it all in his hands. He's won a lot of motorcycle races here, Jason. He loves this place, and that was just incredible. What a run. Folks, Josh Hayes started 10th on the grid. That's row number 4, and now he leads with 16 laps to go.
Yeah, and this is where these two guys behind have to be a little bit concerned, because Josh just ran 24.9, fastest lap of the race by a pretty good margin too. So, 3/10, 4/10 quicker than anybody else, and he's got that Yamaha hooked up. He was quickest this morning in warm-up. I know he's got a little bit of motivation right now after some things that have happened over the course of the weekend, and this is where Josh himself is going to be. He could put these laps down by himself, Greg. He's been here a million times. Let's run it down to Christy real fast.
Thanks, Jason. Obviously, you see that Josh Herron just came in the pits, and he's very disappointed. Didn't get a chance to grab him, gonna give him a moment to catch some fresh air, and his team is disappointed as well. Looked like the bike actually wasn't in bad condition. I'll try and catch up with Josh soon if I can.
All right, so Josh Hayes continues to lead the way with Roger Hayden now in second spot. Tony Elias in third. Now this puts Claudio Corti in the Superstock 1000 class in 4th place. And that would be quite an accomplishment for him.
One of the things you got to remember about that accident, Greg, is Claudio Corti and Josh Herron are battling for the Superstock Championship. So it's more than just Josh Herron leading this race and getting taken out and that kind of thing. It's more than that. It's the big championship points being taken away from him right now while he's sitting there and his team's trying to get his bike back together.
All right, so Josh Hayes, your championship points leader. Oh, by the way, did we mention that the 4-time Superbike champ hasn't won a race yet? Here's a replay of what happened in turn number 1. As we had a long look at it.
All he did, Greg, if you go watch this. Okay, so right now, when you're in this angle right here, trying to squeeze by Cameron, but now you can't get your bike slowed enough to not hit the back of Josh, and Raj just touched him, and it was just enough to knock him off balance. Now, we don't know what happened back there with Danny Eslick and things, but you can see his brake guard is bent out, and Josh is pretty distraught. It's such a shame, because he was riding so well. Yeah, he doesn't look happy.
No, he doesn't look happy, and hopefully the bike isn't too damaged, because he has another crack at it this afternoon. But look, what happens in this race, it might not happen again for sure. So hopefully the Wheels in Motion Mean Motorsports crew can get that motorcycle back up to A condition as we continue to look at Josh Hayes. Listen, I mentioned it. The 4-time Superbike champ who won a lot of races last year in this series is winless so far. He's been on the podium every race except Road Atlanta #1, where he DNF'd in a collision with his teammate Cameron Beaubier, and he's leading this championship going into this race by a slim 4 points to his teammate Cameron Beaubier, who's had 3 wins so far. So this has got to be something spectacular if Hayes can pull off this victory. But with 14 laps to go, there's a lot of racetrack to cover.
And a little Cameron Beaubier update, because we did see him run wide, Craig. He is back there in 6th place, running 20. He's running like kind of high 25s right now, so he still has a chance to pick off a couple of more guys in the form of Claudio Corti and Bobby Fong, who are in front of him. But right now he's kind of running the similar times. I think that if we were to talk to Cameron after this race, he's going to tell you that he did have a problem, and it just didn't look like the bike was underneath him as much as it normally is. Now, these two guys have drawn away from Tony Elias just a little bit, and every time I say that, like we did in Atlanta, Tony started to catch him, and same thing in Coda in race 2, started to catch him. So Tony's very, very good at managing his race, managing his tires. First time he's ever been here, first time he's seen the track, but he'll kind of learn off of these two guys, and they'll be just out there far enough in front of him where he's not going to let him completely get away. Right now, Josh Hayes has dropped it still down into the low 25s, and he's bringing Raj with him.
Josh Hayes, Roger Hayden, Tony Elias in a crazy VIR Superbike race #1, as now it looks like Roger Hayden is starting to dig deep. He's not given up by any stretch of the imagination. You can't count the 95 out. Certainly, Josh Hayes knows what he's doing when he's leading races. This is the position that Josh Hayes loves to be in all the time. He wants to control the pace. Some riders just like to follow. Roger Hayden likes to lead and likes to control the pace as well. But right now, he knows if he can just match the pace of Josh Hayes, he's at least got a shot at him in the late stages of this race.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is where Josh wants to be. He hates being behind. If Raj passes him, he wants to pass him right back. So, you know, Raj, you're exactly right. He likes to control the race pace himself, and you know, one of the things I just noticed just up the track a little bit, looks like we're already seeing a back marker up there possibly, so this could have been somebody that ran off the track a little bit earlier in the race. The reason I bring that up is because this track is very, very difficult to pass on. Battle for Cameron Beaubier, and he's bringing Jake Gagne, who ran off the track in that incident, Greg, that we saw earlier. He's bringing Gagne with him, and you can see those 2 Superstock bikes. There they are, Claudio Corti and Bobby Fong just ahead of them. So these two guys are going to try to march their way back up through, try to get themselves back up into the top 5.
So a good look at Cameron Beaubier right now in 6th spot, dragging Jake Gagne up with him. Those are 2 Superbikes just ahead of them, the battle, Claudio Corti and Bobby Fong. That is for the win in the Superstock 1000 class and 5th overall. What's at stake, of course, at this point is you've got to be thinking championship, as there's a look at the 71. That was Claudio Corti in the 50 of Fong, just ahead of the #1 Beaubier on that blue and white Yamaha, and the number 32 of Jake Gagne on that white and blue Yamaha. How's that?
Yeah,
that'll distinguish it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm sitting here, I'm just thinking about Cameron's year so far. He's just had so much turmoil, and none of it has really been his fault. It's just been crazy stuff. It's just he's always been in the mix of the craziness that's been happening, and you know, but he's got to just keep going around and keep collecting these points, because as we've seen, anything can happen this year in this championship.
A good look at Aprilia-mounted Claudio Corti on that Houston Superbike entry. On that Aprilia, there's a Kawasaki of Bobby Fong. Once again, you're looking at the red backing on the number plate with the white numbers, the 71 and the 50. That indicates Superstock 1000 class, and they are leading those 2 Superbikes right now. Corti in 4th, Bobby Fong in 5th. In class, Claudio Corti is leading the way from Bobby Fong, and these riders each having a couple of wins this year. Corti has 3, Bobby Fong has 2, so no strangers to winning their class. Right now locked in a battle in points as Corti leads the way over Heron, who's now lost out on the day, and Fong sits 3rd in points right now, 15 behind Claudio Corti.
I love watching this guy ride. He just flows. You know, just talking to him a little bit that I have, you know, he's obviously he comes from MotoGP and some other international race series, but he just gets on with it. Like when he shows up, one of the things that's amazing about even racing World Superbike and some of that stuff, these guys get up to speed so quick. They just look at a track like it's just pavement. They're able to go out on a bicycle, look at the track, understand this turn looks like it's probably going to be this fast, and they just get on with it right away. Tony Elias the same way. You look at some of the guys like Valentine DeBees in 600, same way. These guys they're professional racers. That's why these guys are so good. It doesn't take them any time to get up to speed.
Superstock 1000, number 71, Claudio Corti on that V4 Aprilia RSV machine. There's a look at third place right now, Tony Elias. So Elias last time around did a 25.8. He's 2.7 seconds adrift of the leader, Josh Hayes. You can see him right there in the distance. There's a good look at the number 4, Hayes, Monster Energy Graves Yamaha. With those leathers, he's got, you know, it's easy to distinguish Hayes because he's got that nice neon green in those leathers.
Yeah.
With Hayden right behind him on that Suzuki GSX-R 1000. That Monster Energy helmet on him.
And this is where Raj, you know, this is where I think all of us, we just want, Raj is going to have a go. We need to see him have a go. And I know he's going to, as you saw the aggression earlier in the race, but he can control things a little bit right now, chasing Josh. He's got 11 laps to go. He's drawn back into him just a little bit. Looking at the lap times, he's slowed down ever so slightly. But this is where Raj, I believe, has got to start to really be tactical. Start thinking of a plan, making a plan of where he wants to make a move, and then just try to go through with it. You know, you've got to make that, you've got to call yourself out almost and make a bit of a plan and then commit to it. And you can see him, he's trying some different lines on the entry to turn 1. You know, he's a little bit tighter there than Josh, going through the same exact spots once they come out of there.
You know, and that's the advantage when you're in second place. You do get to try different things. And, you know, hopefully that if you lose a 10th or lose 0.2 of a second, that you're able to reel it back in, as Roger's really strong through that section.
And his bike looks a lot more stable right now than Josh's. I mean, I'm not used to seeing Josh back his bike in much and things. It's backing in, it's spinning on the exits, and we go back to this battle for 4th. Got 4 of them now as
Jake Gagne. Jake Gagne has gotten around 2 riders. He got around Cameron Bobier, and he's gotten around Bobby Fong. So now the 50 falling victim to the 32. And to be honest with you, just behind Claudio Corti right there on that red and white motorcycle, Jake Gagne has really been struggling up to this point. So this is actually a great thing to see him in 6th place or in 5th place right now.
Yeah, and he was running up front with the leaders before he went off track. You gotta remember, he went off out into the grass. So for him to get back to where he's at is great. And they've gone back to some things that they're more familiar with that team as far as getting the bike set up for Jake and getting him more comfortable. And we're definitely starting to see that because we've made mention a few times this year that we know Jake's capable of running up at the front, and he would be had he not had that problem earlier. But I expect him to try to go by Claudio Corti here, probably down into the turn 1 areas. He's going to try to get a great drive off of this right-hander. This is a 3rd gear right-hander that these guys are all coming through. And then there's a little bump right there at the exit where you see Bobby Fong. They're going to go up to 4th, 5th, 6th, and now you're going to see the power of that Yamaha go right by that Cowie.
There goes the number 1, Cameron Bobier. As now it looked like Bobier was trying to make a pass on Bobby Fong and just wanted to make sure he didn't hit him.
Yeah, that's a big commitment level up there. You've got to make your decision that you want to do it because it falls off, goes away, goes off camber on you there. Makes it difficult.
And now Jake Gagne getting around the 71. So Jake Gagne gets another position. He's really starting to rock and roll as he goes around the Superstock 1000 of Claudio Corti. And here comes the number 1. It looks like Claudio might become another victim of another Superbike. So riders going off track, having some problems with running straight. They're gathering it all back together in the Superbike class in and amongst these Superstock 1000 riders. And it looks like we have a new leader as Roger Hayden now has made an aggressive pass. Could have been lap traffic. We saw some lap traffic back there, Jason. But Roger Hayden, doesn't matter. He's leading the way right now from Josh Hayes. Now Hayes gets an opportunity to size up the 95 once again.
Yeah, and you know, Greg, you said something about lap traffic. It looks like that could have had something to play with it. But you watch Josh. He's not going to want to sit back here. Now, if he can get in this draft as they come across, he's well in the draft right now. They're at the top of the hill. It looks like Josh probably ran in pretty fast as they went up into turn 7, and he got in there a little bit too deep trying to make that pass on Anthony Kaczynski. But look at here.
There he goes.
This is what I'm talking about.
Back up front. He is not wanting to hang around and finish 2nd. So it looked like Anthony Kaczynski and Josh Hayes had a little miscommunication on how to get around him. And now Roger Hayden took advantage, but Hayes fights right back and takes over the lead with 8 laps to go. Boy, what do you got to be thinking right now if you're Roger Hayden?
Well, the thing is we didn't get to see where he actually entered turn 1 this last lap, but we know he made the pass. We were just playing the replay, so we didn't get to actually see it. But if you remember the lap before, I'd made mention that he went tight into turn 1. I'm I'm thinking he probably opened up his line again, which is going to allow Josh to go back underneath him. I think Raj's bike looks so good all the way around this lap, but I think that if you're going to get by Josh, you can't open the door at all. Now, it's speculation. Josh might have tried to go down the outside of him also, but that would be my thinking, is they're now catching up to, I believe it's Billy Etheridge, isn't it?
Yep, Billy Etheridge on the 172.
They're going to be able to go by him in here into turn 10. Raj is going to have to squeeze by. Good for Billy.
Billy knows what he's doing. He's a veteran of the sport, and Billy knew that they were coming by in the BEI Racing Suzuki GSX-R 1000. He knows that we're live right here on beIN Sports, and he wants to make sure you fans have the best race action going on, as Josh Hayes now out onto the front straightaway with Roger Hayden. Now, the thing that's interesting to me is we kept seeing this gap be right about 0.2 of a second before this incident happened with Kosinski, and we're right back in that same mix. 0.157 when they crossed the stripe. Here's where Roger Hayden, the bike in second place right now, the 95, has been able to really reel in Josh Hayes. So Josh Hayes, number 4, continuing to lead. Tony Elias in third spot, and the number 32 of Jake Gagne, who was on a mad charge up front. Looks like he is down. The Broaster Chicken Road Race Factory Yamaha right there, number 32. A big wheelie over the curb, a tank slapper.
What does that do, Greg? What does that do?
Late on the brakes, man.
What happens is when you get into those big tank slapper, it separates the brake pads. So when he went to get back on the brakes, he had no brakes. That's what happened. And second that you lose that point of reference where you start to apply the brakes, he had no brakes going in there, folks. That's why he went off the way he did. That's why he went off out into the grass and had to get off the bike.
So the San Diego native is out right now. He did the good thing, the smart thing, as the wall was coming up, even with the air fence, just dump the bike and get off the motorcycle. So Gagne, well, you might try to remount and get, well, he actually ran off the track, so now he's got a chance to remount if everything's okay. But all eyes up front as the number 4, Josh Hayes, continues to lead the Suzuki of Roger Hayden. So it's Yamaha versus Suzuki. Jason, I don't predict the future, but I can see some lap traffic coming up ahead yet again. Hayes, who has a ton of endurance experience over his years racing, usually has very good instincts when it comes to lap traffic, but sometimes, like the 88 of Max Flinders, he takes a look over his shoulder. He knows what's coming. He'll give some room to Roger Hayden as well. And there goes Max. So good job by the Louisiana rider on the Thrash Bike Racing motorcycle to get out of the way.
And see, right now, the thing with me is 25.4, 25.5. These guys are going almost a half a second or more quicker than anybody else on the track. But Josh is controlling it. Josh is just kind of controlling it. Raj is sitting there 2/10 back, making his plan, hopefully, of what he's going to try to accomplish here. Because, like I said, when you look at Josh's bike, it's moving around a little bit. You know, and even that can be deceiving. I'm sitting here saying Raj's bike looks great. What that bike feels like underneath him when he's on the edge of the tire and starts to put the throttle on is something that I can't even see from here. But Raj's bike does look like it's going right down the track the way he wants it to go. I just haven't seen a spot yet where I think that it's going to be strong enough to make a move on Josh.
Let's talk about vision. VIR is not the widest racetrack that we go to. It was built in the 1950s. It's a natural road course, like I mentioned at the top of the show, meaning that someone said, I don't know, go up here and turn here and let's just put something here and take these trees out, and blammo, we have a racetrack. But Josh Hayes loves, and he talks to us all the time about how he likes to not only set the pace, but he wants to have clear vision. If he gets behind Roger Hayden, he feels like it slows him down or it makes it a little bit more difficult for him to look around. Is it even more magnified here at VIR because of the width of the racetrack?
Yeah, well, he wants to be able to, you see Raj really draws into Josh there into turn 1 as we look back at Tony Elias. But getting back to your point, it just kind of, I think for Josh, it throws him out of his rhythm when he's following somebody. He wants to always be leading so he can control everything that's going. You know, sometimes as riders, we have a tendency to catch somebody and it takes us forever to pass them because we have a tendency to target fixate. You can see how tight Josh is going into turn 4 there. There's nowhere for Raj to go by him. All this little section here is one line. Now, if you get a good acceleration out of here, as Josh does, it's going to be really hard for Raj to do anything with him as they come under the bridge here in turn 7. Raj just isn't close enough. It's not that Raj is doing anything wrong. Josh is just strong in this particular part of the track. Now, all this is straight line stuff. This is where Josh has won so many races over the years through this particular section. And I don't mean by passing people. I mean that he's just so good. And you watch the gap that he creates out of this right-hander. Raj will not be close enough to do anything with him in the third braking part of our track here, turn 10. This is another another great passing spot, Greg. And then you and I stood going down this hill yesterday when we did our little track walk. We stood and saw how steep it is. You get down this hill, you get through that left clean, you get on the throttle nice and early out of this right-hander, it's going to be really hard for Raj to do anything with him in turn one. So where Josh excels is the exits of all the turns that are leading into a very tight or hard braking zone. And you can see Raj is just too far back.
All right, Christy Lee has more on Broaster Chicken Road Race Factory rider Jake Gagne, right, Christy?
Yes, Greg. Jason, you were dead on. Tank slapper causing the brake pads to separate, loss of brakes, causing that crash for Jake. He's a little bit shaken up, obviously, and disappointed to expect from a crash like that, but he's feeling good, ready to go for race number 2. Looks like the bike isn't in bad condition, just a little bit of agricultural material coming back in the hot pits with it, that's all.
All right, thanks, Christy. As the race leaders go around, Longevity Racing, 29 Barrett Long. He gets out of the way out of Miami, Florida. So the race continues up front now between Josh Hayes and Roger Hayden. These two riders have been racing against each other for quite a number of years. As if you just joined us, Jake Gagne is out of the race due to an incident on the track, and he is up and okay, and he'll be ready to race this afternoon. But now, with just under 4 laps to go, it's Hayes, Hayden, Elias. Cameron Beaubier has worked his way up into 4th spot over Claudio Corti and Bobby Fong. Taylor Knapp in 7th, Hayden Gillum in 8th, Jake Lewis in 9th, and Kyle Wyman up into 10th place ahead of Danny Eslick.
See, Raj draws closer in some key areas of the track, and you know, as we head downhill here, he needs to be another bike length or 2 closer to Josh as they exit this corner so that he can get in that draft. And you know, for me, if I'm Raj, I start thinking to myself, you know what, there's a lot of back markers. It sure would be nice if I could lead my way through them. So far, we've seen all the back markers do such an outstanding job kind of moving out of the way for these two. And this is the spot now, as you see, Josh has now come up on
Dustin Mader. Yeah, on the Yamalube motorcycle right there. That's the Westby Racing motorcycle. So Dustin Mader filling in for the injured Josh Day, who will be back in a couple weeks' time. As we look at Tony Elias right now in the 24. Came out of the box, Tony Elias won the first 3 races of this series, leading the championship. And then Tony Elias just started to have a little bit of teething problems. A DNF, an 18th and a 12th. That's not a good last 3 races, but this podium will help to mend those wounds as Tony Elias on the 24 Suzuki GSXR 1000 from the Yoshimura Suzuki factory squad, coming up on some lap traffic, as he is now coming up on the Barrett Long, who got out of the way earlier. So the gap right there is 6.4 seconds, though, from the 2 race leaders, Josh Hayes and Roger Hayden. And the lap times that Elias is doing right now, doesn't look like he's going to make any inroads.
No, and right now, I think that the way Tony is as experienced as he is, he's going to make some adjustments for the next race, Greg.
Yep, he certainly will. All right, so under 3 laps to go now as Josh Hayes looks like he's starting to eke out ever so slightly away from Roger Hayden. Roger's really got to grit his teeth right now if he's going to figure out how to finally win one of these MotoAmerica Superbike races. As Hayes has a look over at his pit board, he's getting that information, and that gap now has extended to 0.198 of a second. That's still under 0.2. So this has been kind of what it's like when it settles down.
Yeah, and Josh just ran wide. Josh just ran wide in the middle of that turn, and Raj had a little sneak, but that's what I'm saying. If Raj could just be a little bit closer, he could take advantage of a problem like that. We go back to Cameron Beaubier, who's circulating back there in 4th place now. He's 26.2, so he's still half a second off, but he's probably in his mind now going, okay, I'm not really going to move too much more forward than this. I got to take this 4th place and hope that nothing, you know, he's probably thinking if anything happens in front of him, it would be a benefit. But 4th place right now is about the best as Cameron's going to do here.
10.59 seconds, so 10.5 seconds the gap between 3rd place and Cameron Beaubier. So Beaubier doing similar lap times, taking actually 0.6 of a second out of Tony Elias. But with this amount of laps left, with 2 laps to go, no chance for Cameron Beaubier unless Elias has a major problem. So right now it's Hayes, Hayden, Elias, Beaubier, Corti. There's your top 5 as we go back up front. And now it's time, Jason. This is the time when Roger Hayden has got to figure something out. He's had the opportunity all race long to size up Hayes, and he's got to put his plan into motion as Hayes with a bottle on the front straightaway and a wheelie. So
What does Hayden have right now?
Right now, he's got to just stick back just far enough. But you watch Josh. He's going to go into turn 1 probably pretty tight. He knows how good his bike is under braking down here. Look how tight he is, Greg. There's no way. And now let's see if he runs wide. If he can keep that bike turned down, and he does. He keeps that bike turned down. He gets it up off the edge of the tire.
But he had enough of a gap. He had enough of a gap on Hayden. So that's opportunity number 1 in the books for Hayden. He's got a shot in turn number 7 under the bridge. Will he be close enough? Right now, it doesn't look like it, Jason. Yep. Now Hayes looks like he's really twisting the grip.
Josh runs it in there very, very tight and gets the bike slowed down at the apex of the corner because there's no big straightaways after that little left. Now, he's got to get a great drive out of here and see Josh gets such a good drive, and it's such a huge commitment to go by, but Raj is too far back. But look again.
Opportunity number 2 on the brakes right here for a pass. Nothing doing. We got a couple more corners for turn number 10. Can Roger Hayden do it?
He was too deep. See how tight he went in there? And he's going to do the same thing here, Greg. But Josh is so good through this next right, it makes it really hard to get close. Raj is close enough, but you watch what Josh does. He's going to move over to the right. He ain't going to let Raj do it.
On the brakes they go, and Hayes able to hold a nice tight line. So now, if Roger Hayden's going to do something, it's going to have to be a Hail Mary down the hill and possibly up the inside. This would be a spectacular move. Can Roger Hayden get close enough for a draft and pass maneuver? No, it looks like Josh Hayes has done it. No big wheel spin this time. Here they come, the dash to the checkered flag. It's the number 4 Monster Energy Graves Yamaha, Josh Hayes, with his first race of 2016.
Tony Elias coming home in 3rd place. Great result for him back there in 3rd. Just getting over, these other guys have raced here forever. So this is Tony's first race. He's going to go back to that Yoshimura crew with all that experience. And we see Cameron Bobier probably really disappointed in 4th, but I'd be very curious to know. We'll try to get a little story on that for race 2 today and find out what was wrong with that first one. And I think Claudio Corti comes home our super stock winner with Bobby Fong there. A quick shot of him running 2nd, and it looks like Taylor Knapp is going to come home and fill out the podium for the super stock guys.
We await the arrival of those riders, but a look at Josh Hayes and Roger Hayden. So Hayes gets the monkey off his back with his first victory of the year. And look at that, 94.2 mile an hour average speed during the entire race distance. So Hayes from 10th on the grid. This has to send a lot of teams back to the paddock right now, scratching their heads.
Something for you, Greg. Tell me the last time we had to wait 4 races till Josh Hayes won a race.
I mean, honestly, I don't know.
How long
he has been dominant since 2009 when he raced against Matt Mladen. He's won 4 Superbike titles. He won more races than anyone last season. And to have him have such a drought of 6 actual race events without a win, podiums for sure, but the 41-year-old rider from Biloxi, Mississippi, Gulfport, Mississippi area, takes the victory on the Yamaha R1, a motorcycle. Look at Tony Elias. Tony Elias is one of the nicest guys that I have met in this paddock. He's always got a smile on his face, and he's happy to be able to take 3rd today, back on the podium.
And he'll improve. Like I said earlier, he's going to improve, and it'll be interesting to see what Raj can do to improve. It looked like the Yamaha worked really, really good under heavy braking compared to a couple of the other bikes. And, Josh's acceleration is not so much his acceleration, but how he exited corners was the key to victory for me in this race. How he was able to get out of the turns that led onto straightaways where heavy braking was coming up. That was really the key. But good for Josh. I know he was in the doldrums a bit last night after what had happened. And, comes back today and wins.
We'll have to check on Roger Hayden and take a listen to his tire situation. I'm interested to see how those Dunlops held up for him. Each rider, each motorcycle acting a little different. Well, we hope you're able to catch your breath after that exciting race. We are going to for a moment, and we'll be right back to Virginia International Raceway with post-race wrap-up. Stay tuned. Nothing but excitement here in the MotoAmerica Superbike Championship here at VIR as race number 1 is in the books. All right, so now it's the time you've been waiting for. Christy down in winner's circle with our winner.
Well, Josh, you certainly took a lemon and turned it into lemonade with a difficult qualifying session yesterday, qualifying in 10th, able to get up to the front, make the battle, and charge for the win. First win this season for you. I know it feels good.
It's relief, probably more than anything. I'm really excited for the team. It was a hard day yesterday, and to think that carries over for a whole day today, starting from 10th twice. Hopefully I didn't set the bar a little too high for myself for race 2. That was a crazy race. There were a lot of things happening, a lot of people jostling around, making mistakes, and I had a pretty pretty clean race. So I'm pretty excited with how I rode and how I got things done. And a big thank you to my crew. I'm lucky to have a family for a crew that believe in me. And big thanks for everybody for watching, mom and dad at home. I'm excited to get my first one this year, and hopefully there's a lot more to come.
Josh and the crew pretty pumped right now with a big win.
I mean, even when he just wins a race, I mean, he's happy, but he's not, you know, the Josh Hayes, I'm pumped. I mean, he's right now he's a little bit on the reserve side. I hope I get another one.
Yeah,
but.
well, he knows he's got another race to come, and you can hear the fans down there with him. They're pretty stoked for him. And, you know, I know last night was a tough night for him. I was lucky enough to have a few little text messages with him, and he was frustrated. Don't see him that much like that way very often, but he was.
So it's good that he can put all that behind him, and he and his crew working as spectacularly as they do. And a clean race for Josh Hayes means a win for Josh Hayes. We're going to take a short break. We're going to take a break. We'll have highlights and some points on the other side, so don't go anywhere.
This race was brought to you by Dunlop. Accelerate your soul.
As a good look from turn one down the straightaway. Now the podium. This is where Josh Hayes is accustomed to being last year, but his first trip to the top step of the box.
Have a quick look at the point standings. Josh Hayes actually extends his lead to 14 points over Raj Hayden, Cameron Beaubier, Tony Elliott in fourth. Claudio Corti doing a great job. And when you think about it, he's only 41 points back on that Superstock bike.
Yep. When we came into this race, it was Cameron Beaubier actually in second spot. So Roger Hayden, who entering New Jersey was leading and got dropped down to third, is now in second spot. So 14 points the gap. Roger Hayden, Cameron Beaubier, Elias, Claudio Corti doing a great job right now of holding on to that points lead in the Superstock 1000. Poor Josh Herron right there in seventh spot. We'll have to talk with him one-on-one in between the break here on beIN Sports before we come back for Super Sport race, Superstock 600, and then that's race number 2 of the weekend, and then the Superbike Superstock 1000. A lot of classes, a lot of great storylines lining up for race action later on today right here from Virginia International Raceway. What's your takeaway, though, from Superbike race number 1?
Oh, I think Josh Hayes coming from the fourth row and being able to do that again in the second race. Whatever problem Cameron Beaubier had, we're going to figure out. We're going to find out what that is, and he won't have that problem again. He'll be at the front. See if Josh Herron can rebound from this. And a couple other little quick shots. We had Hayden Gillum and Jake Lewis. Jake Lewis in his first race back to come back and finish 9th, I think is very, very good for him today.
Congratulations to Hayden Gillum, of course, and Jake Lewis in 8th and 9th place, respectively. All right, that's it for us for race number 1. We'll be back later on in the day on beIN Sports from VIR. For Jason and Christy, I'm Greg. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you very soon.